everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the real Cass Perry, and I am here to talk to you about some seriously insane stuff that our founding fathers got into. So, the men who founded America and North America, aka America and Canada, were some pretty vile, depraved father mockers, and we didn't even truly know about any of this until recent years. Well, I mean, we did kind of, but it was all blown off as conspiracy theories, kind of like the ones that everybody says aren't actually happening now. So, reasons why I can never truly be sure about the world nowadays. But anyway, our story here today is about the original Hellfire Club. And the original Hellfire Club was founded by Sir Francis Dashwood. And this happened in the early 18th century, late 17th century, blah, 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 1700s. You know the deal. So, there were a lot of prominent figures who were members of the original Hellfire Club. And this is quite typically probably why everybody basically dismissed all of the claims that this was a thing and these things were going on, because, hey, who would think that all of the most important members of Parliament are going to be a part of this secret, satanic, anti-Christian society, right? Right. Because, I mean, nobody's going to think that. But that is exactly what was going on. Pretty full. So, we're going to start there. In the early 18th century, there was a man named Sir Francis Dashwood, and this man was the founder of multiple groups that turned into what is now known as the original Hellfire Club. Yeah, I know. Now, the Hellfire Club was made up of some of the most important people in history at the time, and there were many names of important members on a plaque along the entrance to the Hellfire Caves. Along them was the First Lord of Admiralty, who was the son of the Duke of Canterbury, as well as a certain household name we all know. Can you guess who it is? Come on, give me a guess. It's okay. I will give you a minute, and if you guys happen to know who this household name was, I'd like you to tell me in the comments. Please tell me down in the comments if you got this far, if you know who it is. Come on, I'll give you a minute to guess. That is right, none other than our very own Benjamin Fudgin' Franklin. Seriously? Come on, Ben. Like, the dude who's sitting around on the American $100 bill going, ha ha, doing the Nelson laugh at everybody, was a member of this crazy group. Okay, then. Oh my, right? Well, yeah. Now, so, Franklin spent from the 1750s through the 1770s as a representative of the Pennsylvania Assembly in London, which was headed by none other than Sir Francis Dashwood, who was Chancellor Executor, actually known as one of the most powerful men in Britain. Seriously? This guy's running around with some Cartman level energy going, ha ha ha, fuck you, ma'am, I do what I want. Or, I guess, in his case, fuck you, Parliament, I do what I want. Right? Like, come on. Nobody even thought, like, oh yeah, maybe this isn't the best place for Dashwood of all people. But turns out nobody actually did think that. Everybody was all like, oh yeah, cool, Dashwood, he should be right where he's at, right? Like, who could ever think that anything there could go wrong? But anyway. So yeah, and Dashwood was a colorful character. He was born into an aristocratic family in the years, and he was born in the year 1708. And by the tender age of 15, Dashwood's father passed away, and he inherited his wealth and properties, and Dashwood took full advantage of his newfound wealth and status by going on grand tours of all of Europe, and along the way gained a bit of a reputation as a, quote, connoisseur of libertine in Russia, and he was said to have impersonated King Charles XII of Sweden, a great enemy of Russia at the time, and he also tried to seduce the Tisrina of Russia. Like, bro, I know that you're, like, trying to pull this whole, oh, I got this certain type of energy thing going on, but dude's basically over here, like, committing suicide by means of the Tisrina, so whatevs. Because let's just be honest here, the Shazar, he would not be having that. But I digress. So, like, bro, what were you thinking? And it was said that he was banned from the Papal States at the time in Italy for, well, I don't really know how to put this. He was said that he was banned from the Papal States during his time in Italy, likely due to his deprived actions that would honestly set up Dashwood's life to later on have a reputation of anti-religious deviant instead of the pious, respectable gentleman that he wanted to be seen as. And this led to him really only finding his own form of expression within the Hellfire Club with his clubhouse friends. So, yeah, something tells me that this fella didn't really have the best time dealing with all of this, but at the same time, I'm also inclined to not care too much because he seems like he was kind of a dingus. Ding dong. Yeah, that's what I'll call it. He's a ding dong. Oi. So, yeah. But the incorrigible bon voyeur that Dashwood was, he'd already established 2 dining and drinking societies that would end up taking on a bit of an exclusive club feel that would set up the base of what would become the Hellfire Club. And the first of which was, well, the Deletti Society, which was formed in Italy, which I'm gonna honestly say that was definitely a part of those so-called depraved actions that he got banned from Italy for. I'm gonna put her there, partner. Yeah. So the Deletti Society was, well, It was originally supposed to be a club for people who simply appreciated classical art and music, but it honestly quickly just became a rather easy way for these fellas to get together and get drunk and act like horse teats. It's the only way that I feel is appropriate to put it. They were acting like horse teats. Like, at the end of the day, there's just only one way to say it. And these guys were not being cool. So, the Deletti Society was supposed to be... It quickly became a place that was just for drinking and depravity. It was supposed to be fairly exclusive, however, the only real qualification was to be in Italy and be drunk at the time. So, yeah. It still exists today and is apparently a well-kept secret, but has over 60 members, but honestly, if it's that much of a well-kept secret, I really don't think that a little Romanian girl living in Canada would know about it. Can't be that much of a secret. Just saying. If I know about it. Oh, it really only took a Google, too. Like, if you guys really, really want to be some kind of a secret, like, come ask me for some advice, but nobody's asking me for advice. However, better kept secrets, you ask your homegirl here. Okay? This is not turning out as expected. Although I do kind of like it. Anyways. Dashwood also founded the Divan Club, which was a place for people to gather and talk about their experiences traveling the Ottoman Empire of Europe in 1746 at the George and Vulture Pub in London, which opened in 1142 and is still a well-to-do open establishment today. And this is where Dashwood had began the gatherings of the upper crust hedonists that would later on come to be known as the Hellfire Club. And they were originally called the Knights of St. Francis. They were limited to 12 members, which seems like a random coincidental number, but it was actually a specific piece of numerology that was chosen because of their anti-Christian religious beliefs, or so it was said. But yeah. So, and this group would be what would later on become what we now know today as the original Hellfire Club. Hey. So, and like I say, the original name of the group was the Knights of St. Francis, but it was later changed by Dashwood, and after this point, he decided that the best place to establish their headquarters, so to speak, was going to be underneath of the village of West Wycombe? Under the village. Seriously. Under the village of West Wycombe. Ugh. He had the entrance to the Hellfire Tunnels placed on his property in the Chiltern Hills of West Wycombe, in this very well-to-do corner of the British colonies at the time. And Honestly, this wasn't at all the place that you would expect all of these well-to-do members of British and Irish and Parliament to gather, but lo and behold, that is exactly what they did, and exactly the place that they did it was underneath of Madmenham Abbey. I probably completely butchered the pronunciation of that, but I'm gonna go with it. Now, Madmenham Abbey was a Christian monastery that was dissolved by King Henry VIII in what year was it again? I'm just gonna double check. Was in the ruins of Madmenham Abbey, which was a retired Christian monastery dissolved by King Henry VIII in 1547, and their association with this place had given the Hellfire Club's members the nickname of the Madmenham Friars. Okay, so I just retaught myself something for your guys' pleasure. Woohoo! Again, for the 4th time since I started doing all of this lovely research that I have been enjoying doing for you. Sit. In these hallowed grounds, carnal pleasures pursued. Dashwood's associate, Horace Walpole, visited the alley and had noted that the entire chapel was adorned with body pictures and that the gentlemen would, quote, take any woman that they wanted into the former monks' cells and wear mock religious clothing and perform the nasty or strange ceremonies, and this was one of the things where everyone was involved and there were no sit-outs. Men would attend meetings and women, but the catch was that the men would have to dress as monks and the women would have to dress as nuns, which is a little bit odd. Let's be honest here. Anyway, who am I to judge? And were not actually, but the women weren't actually allowed to join as members. They were simply allowed to be there. They couldn't join. And Dashwood himself would lead the meetings dressed as a priest. He was their leader and he loved it. He was pumped, like, oh yeah, I have followers. Now, how did they keep their identities hidden so that non-members couldn't tell who they were and tell the entire village and subsequently the entire world, so to say? Well, they wore masks. The entire thing was like just some big, beautiful masquerade party, right? Like, cool. Who wouldn't love that? I love that. Oh. And this is how they would, well, they were required to wear masks for all of their meetings and functions, basically excuse my language, a big anonymous fuckfest. The motto of the Hellfire Club was Fris Kid Vodris, which means in Italian, do what thy will. I believe. Yes, fresque du voudras, meaning what, do what thou will in Italian. An extortion that would sometime later gain infamy as the credo of Aleister Crowley. And if you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, then please either do just a teeny weeny little tiny bit of research for me. Or, if you really don't feel like doing some research and you would like to know who Aleister Crowley was, like, find out more about him than I am about to tell you, then I would love it if you would tippy-tap your adorable little fingers onto those keypads and tell me if you would like me to do a video on just Aleister Crowley in the comments, please and thank you. Mwah. And if you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, and you likely should, he was a notorious English occultist of the 19th and 20th centuries. And like I say, we can do a video about Crowley later if you all would like to. Please let me know in the comments, because I would love to know if you really would enjoy that, because I would enjoy doing that for you. So just let me know. Now, the excavation of Dashwood's caves would be finished in 1752, but the exact date when the group had moved their meetings to the caves is unknown, because the secretary, Paul Whitehead, had the documents and journals containing the minutes from the meetings destroyed, first by fire and then by water, specifically so that nobody could ever be able to recreate the notes and figure out exactly what went on in the meetings. Weird, right? Like, whatever. And he did all of this to make sure that his club's affairs would remain secret upon his death. Now, Paul Whitehead met his end in 1774. And I feel like y'all need to try to envision this, because the Hellfire Caves are absolutely remarkable. Okay? Okay. So, the entrance to the Hellfire Caves is excuse me. I think I need a cup of my tea. It's marked by an eye-catching flintstone structure. Okay? And it resembles, well, it kind of is resembling of a Gothic church, to be completely honest. And it is an absolutely beautiful sight if you have ever been there to see it. So gorgeous. And then the tunnels descend into a nave-shaped structure which branches off into small chambers, and inside of them is a waxwork figure of Paul Whitehead, along with the original box that he used to donate his literal heart to Francis Dashwood and the Hellfire Club inside of. Like, cool, Paul. Freaky, but cool. Whatever. Weirdo. Like, I'm just saying, guys, that's weird. It's kind of out there that he would even think, oh yeah, this is what everybody's gonna want. They're gonna want my disgusting, bloody, fleshy heart. Well, I mean, honestly, Dashwood probably did want it for some weird, creepy, messed up reason. Like, anyways, and it was rumored that Whitehead and Dashwood were actually lovers secretly. Ooh. And that they had hidden their relationship through the Hellfire Club, but others say that he simply donated his heart so that it could be used to perform a specific ritual, or simply so that Dashwood could eat it with a dining partner so that a cannibalistic fantasy could be lived out. So, yeah, gross. Yucky. But anyway, these guys were apparently some kind of heroes. Yeah, sure, whatever. Y'all do you. Cool. Cool beans. Oh, heaven. But yeah, that's basically the gist of that. Anyways, so just beyond that chamber with the waxwork of Whitehead and the urn was the largest room within the caves, which was a literal just giant beehive shape. Just beyond that was the largest room within the caves, the Great Hall. It was a giant beehive shape with black scars on the walls. It was magnificent, to them anyway. And back in the day, they had it decorated really, well, in their minds, quite well. Like, they truly believed that they had this place well decorated, okay? Like, anyways, so the Great Hall was a giant beehive-shaped room, and it was supposed to be covered in beautiful body pictures and adorned with these little cave engravings for like tiny rooms with little curtains and beds, like privacy curtains for if you actually wanted privacy. But you know, most of the time they didn't actually want privacy, because, yeah, they wanted everybody to watch them doing the dirty. So, I'm actually just going to chuck this away at this point. The things that they did in the Great Hall were fairly yucky. And the whole place was filled with, like, it had all of these beds, it had curtains, it had whips, it had chains, it had all kinds of different things. And honestly, if I'm being completely true to my own brain right now, I would be, if I were to walk in there way back then with all of that torture equipment with the daggers and the candles and the whips and the chains, I'd be sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is like a kinkster's dream, right? No. No, it's not. Because those tools and toys and fun things that I have just mentioned, all those wonderful, wonderful things that we all tend to enjoy quite often and quite muchly, well, it just so happens that none of them were actually used for fun, except for the bed chambers. Those were apparently used for fun. But the whips and the chains and all of the fun stuff that I would want to play with, that wasn't used for BDSM. Weird, right? You would think, because it's like some kind of crazy sex club, that they would be using all of those cool tools for BDSM. Like what we would... No. No. Those devices were used for literal rituals, sacrifices, and tortures. Okay? Okay. So, these guys apparently practiced Bacchism and worshipped the god Bacchus and the goddess Aphrodite. So, the god of wine and revelry, I can't pronounce that word. Revelry. Bleh. I can't pronounce that word, but anyway, he's a party god. So, yeah. And the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite, who is, by the way, my girl. I love her. But the only thing is that Aphrodite and Bacchus, in my personal opinion, as somebody who has studied the Greek gods quite a bit and actually cares for the different polytheistics and such, I feel like they would not appreciate people killing women in their names or practicing magic and voodoo and such, and like literally just committing some crazy heinous crimes in the name of the gods they claim to serve. Come on, guys. Do better. Okay? So, because they worshipped Bacchus and Aphrodite, they would perform Bacchian and Aphroditic rituals, but personally not entirely sure how much research they actually did on these cultures, because quite certain that the god of partying and good times and wine isn't going to want you to kill anybody for him. And the goddess of love and beauty is not going to... I personally don't believe that the goddess of love and beauty is actually going to be all okay with people killing people in her name and calling it a sacrifice. No. But that's what they were doing. And it is honestly something that I personally don't understand all that well, but I'm just gonna go with it. So they weren't Satanists like the rumor was, but they were obviously doing some strange stuff. Yeah. And personally, not here to judge anybody, but at the end of the day, no. No. And we cannot actually... Everything that I am saying about the practices and such that were held down in the Hellfire Club is sheerly rumor, suspicion, and hearsay, because absolutely all of the documents were ordered to be like I say, all of the documents from the Hellfire Club were ordered to be destroyed by Paul Whitehead upon his death, because he didn't want anybody knowing what the Hellfire Club was up to, which seems kind of fishy to me. I mean, if they actually didn't do any of this stuff, then why on earth would they want to destroy the records to try to cover it up? This is just one girl's opinion. If you guys want me to do a part 2 and go a little bit farther into the different histories and more details, then please let me know. Tell me down what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys liked the video, if you want me to do anything different next time. Yeah. Other than that, thank you so much for listening. If anybody actually made it to the end of the video, please like, subscribe, and give me a booyah down in the comments. If anybody actually types booyah, I'm gonna be so excited. Like, I will literally put a short on, like, yes! I swear. Anyways, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for listening to me sound like I'm stupidly blathering on about random things. Thank you for coming and learning with me about the founders, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Subscribe!